Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the beginning of another live Sangha. May this be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. As we await our first guests to arrive, allow me to set the intention for this space. I would like everyone to feel welcomed, everyone to be allowed to feel themselves in this live stream. I hope that regardless of the kind of mess that we get into on the surface with our entangled identities, we can look past all that and just be there for each other as fellow participants in this strange experience we call life. At the most, I can hope that we relate in one another's experiences in the ways we can, uplift each other and share positive sentiments. Now, hello Eddie. I think you are the first one here. I hope you are doing well. And if not, that's okay. I hope everyone who is joining now is as best they can. And hello my dear cat Sandy. He's off to my left in a catio. It is a beautiful sunny day here in the west coast of Canada. In fact, I think the universe turned up the saturation today. The grass is looking green, the sky is looking blue. Flowers are looking flowery. Hello Clean Sheets, welcome back. Hello Dean Dude, you share I'm optimizing that sunshine. Yeah, I'm min-maxing my sunshine. Specifically maxing. I'm sun-maxing right now. And hello Natalia. Welcome. I'm happy to be alive. It can be a tough one, this life, but hey, in the end it has to be worth it, hasn't it? That is our birthright, to make something of this experience. Anyway, I am grateful for all of you being here. I'm happy you like my glorious sock beauty. Tiffany, first question of the day comes from you. Do I have any advice for overcoming panic attacks or extreme anxiety? I've experienced a lot of those myself, so I can relate. I have so much advice, actually. It's hard to know where to start. I guess I'll start with the basics that this too shall pass. It always does. Whenever I was feeling anxious, even when it was intense anxiety, it got better, and the anxiety didn't take away from my experience. I was able to feel happy and joyful and safe at a later point always. And when I felt like that, then I felt okay to have gone through the anxiety. I suppose one thing that makes us afraid when it comes to these intense emotions is that we'll never feel the same. But what's true is that your anxiety will always pass, and you will find a sense of security and comfort later. And in a way that's difficult to explain unless you know what I mean, but I'll try to explain it anyway. If you can relax into the sensations of anxiety themselves, they go away a lot quicker. And it's funny to say that because anxiety is like the opposite of feeling relaxed. But if you relax into the sensations of anxiety themselves, it's possible to feel more safe. Also, there are things we can do when we are not feeling anxious to help remedy anxiety when it comes again, if it comes again. And that's engaging in a very mindful life, really. Taking time away from electronics and scrolling really helps the subconscious process what's ever in it. So if we can take some time away from our devices during the day, anxiety has less of a chance to come back and bite you, in my experience. And thank you, Haley Queen, for the community fest that you sent. It's the first gift of the live, and I'm very honored to receive it. Thank you. Radhe or Radhe. Oh, you're welcome, Tiffany. That was helpful. I'm so happy to hear that. You shared that you struggled with a pretty big anxiety episode today out of nowhere. It happens. And, yeah, out of nowhere is a good way to describe anxiety. And you don't have to know where. Get it? When it's out of nowhere, you don't have to know where. I'm glad you liked the scene. Human Solarian. Welcome, Magdalene. Radhe or Radhe. Jay, you shared that you get massive anxiety from your mistakes. Oh, you could be easier on yourself. You are allowed mistakes. There isn't a human in the world that has not made them. They're part of life, and that's okay. But I feel you. And Namaskaram Veri. Jai Gurudev. I am feeling better than I was yesterday. Thank you for asking. Now, Andrew, you had asked a question. A teaching question for me. Could I make a video about creating math for your MS students? Oh. Well, I have made a video on creating math that is currently live on my TikTok. I unprivated it. Maybe they'd get a kick out of that, and you could explore some of the concepts. Like, propositional calculi, formal systems, formal languages. A formal language would probably be the easiest system. I'm sure that you could create some fun homework, some fun projects out of that. I believe that math can be creative, and creating your own formal language, as it's called in math, is a really fun creative exercise. Welcome, Katarina. You share that you've found out why you've been sick. Well, judging by the pregnant emoji, either you've eaten too much or you have a lovely piece of news to share with all of us. And good evening, Lone Wolf. I appreciate your love of my videos. And Vanessa, thank you for your heart me. Hare Krishna. And Diana, thank you for your heart me. Cheer you up, and a pair of team bracelets also. Thank you. Om Doom Durgai Namaha. And that is right, Doom Knight. I did unprivate some of my videos. No, you are pregnant, Katarina. You haven't been able to eat anything, just water and ginger ale. Well, oh, the joys of pregnancy. Yeah, I think my mom, she had some pretty creative ways of getting herself nutrients or just something in her system. She would eat lemon loaf, I think, and she had this craving for ice. She would just crunch on ice, always bothering my dad. I need ice. I need it this size. I want it this texture, this temperature. Give me a bowl of ice. You love ice? Oh. Well, that sounds like good news, and I'm very grateful that you shared such precious such a precious event for you, this discovery. All my best wishes for you and the life that you are bringing here into this world. I am sure that this is a time surrounding many feelings, and oh, how beautiful. I know you will be a good mother, as you already are in so many ways. Them lemon cakes you'll need the recipe for, because you love lemon cakes. Maybe the baby will too. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll have to talk to my mom. And thank you, dear Tiffany, for the tiny that you sent a minute ago. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And thank you, Kiki, for your pair of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. And Anthony, thank you for your heart me too. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. Salutations to the sun. It's out today. Now I have a question for you all. Today I'm wondering, when someone doesn't understand what you're saying, what can you do instead? Simple question. Maybe not so simple answers. Or maybe it's a not so simple question, but there are simple answers. Please feel free to take your time, if you want to answer at all, of course. I believe questions like these are always worth thinking about, since they are a common part of life. Pew pew, you share common ground. Oh, I love that. That's very practical. Yeah. How can we find where we do understand each other? Lone Wolf, you're wondering if you can have a clue? Oh, this isn't a riddle. There's no correct answer. And there's no wrong answer necessarily either. And hello, Chloe Evans. I am well. Thank you for asking. Shauna Lara, you say nothing of the sort. Sometimes silence can communicate better than the words we share, that's for sure. Katarina, you share for your baby. You think this is one spiritual baby, won't accept no unhealthy foods at all. I wonder about the karma of that soul and what instructions are delivered to the mother and what they all mean when it comes to creating all the different body parts. Chilled guy, you share smile. I like that. Sometimes a smile is all we need to communicate our intentions. Thank you, Vince of York, for your heart me and tiny. Yippee! How are you doing, my friend? Kiki, you share that you sow the seed of information and let the time make it grow. That's beautiful. Yeah, having trust that they will remember the essence. They might not understand it, but over time, you've given them everything they need to unpack what you've said. Now, Doom Knight, you bring a good point, that it depends if they want to understand. That is a criteria, isn't it? Yeah, it is true. Sometimes we must accept that their attention is elsewhere than the place that we are trying to direct them, and that's okay. Dear Catherine, the wise old owl, thank you for your hand hearts too. Kring Kalikaye Namaha. Natalia, you share you can grab them by the shoulder and shake. Why won't you listen to me? And you have to do it with the Batman voice too. Joker! Joker, you are not understanding. Wake up, Joker. Can't you see? All the suffering, Joker. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. Yeah, JDM, you shared. Maybe it's not their time to understand yet. It's a good thing to remember. But yes, I'm always happy to have you here, Katarina. Ram Ram. You are okay, shares Catherine. Okay is not bad, and I'm happy to hear that. They found lymphoma in your body. That is quite the news. Well, thank you for sharing that also. At least I can be grateful that they were able to find this. And I'm sure that there is a procedure that they are having you participate in, or they are currently drafting up for your treatment. And please keep me updated. I wish all the best for your health. And I think someone is mowing their lawn, so I hope that's not too loud. I do have some noise cancellation. I always think of it like an om, like a meditation. Om. Thank you, Michael, for your rose as well. Radhe Radhe. And Katie, thank you for your ice cream cone and heart me. You can hear the grass cutting, but you like it. Oh, good. It is kind of relaxing. I'm happy to hear that. It is a good drone with the right perspective. And I'm happy you like the ambience track, Doom Night. Cornbread, you share that you are kind of sad today. Can I cheer you up? Well, I can do my best. Here, let's see. I have a joke for you. Can I tell a joke? I finally figured out what's wrong with my brain. On the left side, there's nothing right, and on the right side, there's nothing left. So you can tell that whenever someone says there's something wrong with you. Wednesday, you find lawnmowers to be very soothing. Oh, I'm happy to hear that. And Eveline, back to the question of the day, you share that if they don't want to understand, we can accept that they think differently. Beautiful. Yeah. And Doom Knight, you share that you would also examine their perspective to check if you're the one not understanding. Wow. What a humble answer. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Sometimes it's hard to tell which side the misunderstanding is on. All right. I thank you for playing around with my question of the day today. Cornbread, you add that you'll accept because you really can't change someone for your belief. It is true. It is true. And a sobering reminder. And Psych Dharma, you share that changing the wording or figuring out what they do not understand to work from there. I love that. All right. So, I like to begin my live with the question of the day, and then a short reading. So if you will join me, I would like to continue exploring this wonderful book that was given to me by one of you, written by their guru. Today we're going to talk about the 2 ways of life. This was after we discussed 3 spiritual obstacles on the spiritual path, as well as the 6 treasures to go and remedy these 3 obstacles. So if you feel like you're facing obstacles on the spiritual path and would like to know what the 6 treasures are, you can listen to the last reading, which is uploaded on the YouTube channel in my bio. Today we're reading about Pravrtti and Nivrtti. Pravrtti and Nivrtti, 2 ways of life. Pravrtti means to live amidst worldly duties and interests with the senses and actions directed primarily towards the external world. This is the way of life that most of us are living in the modern or Western world. Nivrtti, on the other hand, is the path of turning back, the path of turning within, towards spiritual contemplation and placing the source, or God, at the center of our existence, literally within, and fulfilling our familial and professional duties. That's an important point, that we still fulfill our familial and professional duties, even in the path of Nivrtti. Literally speaking, Pravrtti means external activity or work, behavior, and Nivrtti means turning back, withdrawing, detaching. For as long as we live in Pravrtti, our thoughts turn mainly towards worldly things, to pleasure and hobbies and worrying about position, income, and possessions. Initially, school and education occupy our thoughts, then later profession and family. Finally, in old age, we worry about our health and our inheritance. These are common worries on the path of Pravrtti. So that there are no misconceptions, I would like to clarify this. I love when the author speaks in the first person. It's very personal. It is proper and necessary for us to fulfill our responsibilities and duties to our family and society. And there is no problem with being comfortable or prosperous. But those people who care about nothing and are totally wrapped up in Maya, which means material existence, the worldly illusion and delusion, and constantly run after it, behave irrationally and short-sightedly, in the belief that it is absolutely essential to create something. Their efforts are persistently directed towards, outwardly. One car after another, new things constantly bought and accumulated. These are clear signs that the inner self has still not had enough. And in spite of all the disappointments and failures, is not yet fed up. We make a big mistake when we think our supreme goal in life is to experience and enjoy the world. What does enjoyment mean? A wise person knows that desires are never ending. We are constantly hungry and thirsty, even if we have just eaten well. No worldly pleasures satisfy us forever. Desire soon rises anew. Only something long-lasting and unchanging is able to give us true satisfaction. That which changes is unreal. Only the eternal and unchanging self, that which you are, is real. For as long as we live in Pravrtti, our thoughts turn mainly towards worldly things, as we have said. If we follow one path, we will inevitably reach where that path leads. When we turn our mind towards the outer world too much, we lose contact with our inner world and the divine self. Therefore, the only way out of Maya, this worldly illusion, is through Nivritti. When the children are grown, we should hand over to them all our acquired possessions and gradually withdraw from active work. As we keep the mind free of worldly desires and turn towards our source, Nivritti should predominate, not just externally, but more importantly, inwardly. Neither money nor possessions make us inwardly rich. Rather, true wealth lies in a peaceful heart and contentment. Only in Nivritti can the soul permanently quench its thirst for happiness and knowledge. One day, every human will attain perfection, though many may need several life cycles. The two ways of life described here are like two branches of a tree. The Pravrtti branch bends down towards the world, whereas the Nivritti branch goes upward towards the divine consciousness. Love and yearning for the Supreme Self develops once the consciousness has reached an appropriate stage, just as the field of a farmer must be prepared before sowing. The consciousness also needs much preparatory work. It can take years, or even many lifetimes, before the seeds of spirituality emerge. To recognize at which level you are, and whether or not you will be able to reach the goal in this lifetime, ask your own heart. Books are unable to give an answer to this. At best, you can evaluate your own qualities. Spiritually minded people prefer satsang, the company of people who inspire goodness and truthfulness, whereas people who are still laden with many karmas are more attracted to Maya. Very little of their time, if any, is occupied by spiritual matters, with most of their time being dedicated to material interests and pleasures. A further symptom of spiritual immaturity is an unsettled and changeable mind, always making new resolutions and giving up again when facing the slightest obstacle. All too often it happens that, after practicing for some time, an aspirant becomes discouraged and doubts the outcome. The path to truth is lined with failures and disappointments, as we recognize the inappropriateness of many of our ideas and must discard them one after another. That is why you can only achieve success if you show firm resolution, unwavering perseverance, and have an unshakable will. One day, all karmas will be cleared. Therefore, we should allow nothing and no one to discourage us. Continue to strive patiently and constantly, even if your initial expectations are not fulfilled. Only those who stay on the path and go on with unwavering faith, patience, and steadfastness are able to realize the spiritual goal in this life with the guidance and help of a spiritual master. Do not wait until it is too late. One day, life ends, and with it, the chance to achieve something. There is a very illuminating story about this. So, let's explore. A Maharaja, a great king, by the name of Jaswant Singh, once lived in Jodhpur. He was a learned, wise, and spiritual ruler, as well as being well advanced in yoga. Besides government business, He performed his yoga exercises daily and was punctual with his meditation. He lived a truly exemplary life. One day, he decided to find out if his closest colleagues and confidants were truly devoted to him. Often it is difficult to know whether someone is merely saying beautiful words or if they are speaking honestly from the heart. So, Jaswant Singh devised a test to see how far he could trust his ministers and officials. He called his closest ministers to him and asked them if they would fulfill one wish for him. The ministers assured him assiduously that they would do anything for him, even if it cost them their lives. The Maharaja said, "My request is that when I die, all the jewelry and the jewels that I am wearing on my body at that time be distributed amongst the poor." One of the ministers stepped forward and begged, "Do not speak of your death, O king. May you live for 1,000 years." The Maharaja replied, "Please accept my gratitude for your good wishes, but nobody lives forever, and no one knows the day and hour when they must say goodbye." The ministers then vowed that they would carry out all of the Maharaja's instructions, and soon forgot the whole affair. 2 weeks later, the Maharaj decided to carry out the test. He possessed the ability to enter the state of samadhi. In yoga, that means supreme consciousness, which is union of the knower, the knowledge, and the object of knowledge. You become one with all these three aspects. So he possessed the ability to enter this state at any time, at will. In samadhi, superficially the body appears to be dead. Heartbeat and pulse appear to have stopped completely, and the breath is almost totally suspended. But the senses are fully intact, and one is able to hear and see everything. And so, the Maharaja feigned a heart attack and entered samadhi. The doctor, who was summoned immediately, pronounced him dead. The ministers stood around the bed of the supposedly deceased ruler as they filled with consternation. Finally, they began to remove his rings, necklaces, and bracelets. One of them asked, "What should be done with the jewelry now? Our master wished us to distribute it to the poor of the country." But the Prime Minister vehemently contradicted him. "That doesn't come into the question at all. In their stupidity, kings think that we fulfill their wishes, but we, the ministers, are the real sovereigns. Outwardly, we bow and approve of everything, but what actually happens is determined by us." Several ministers agreed with him, but others had misgivings and said, "We should fulfill the last wish of the king. It would be a serious sin not to do this." The Prime Minister actually laughed at them, but to reassure them, he made the following proposal. "I know we can fulfill his last wish and avoid any disadvantage to ourselves. We will have cheap imitations of the piece of the jewelry. I know how we can fulfill his last wish and avoid any disadvantage to ourselves. We will have cheap imitations of the pieces of jewelry produced. We can then give those away and thus fulfill our promise." The Maharaja had heard enough. He came back from samadhi, sat up in his bed, and loudly sang Om. The ministers froze in fright. However, the Prime Minister quickly got a hold of himself, raised his arms, and cried, "God be praised, our beloved master is alive." The Maharaja merely said, "Stop the undignified theater. I overheard everything and know exactly how you follow my orders and keep your promises." On the same day, he distributed his jewelry to the poor with his own hands and divided land holdings amongst the farmers and ashrams. Ashram means spiritual centers similar to monastic communities. Many families and also many ashrams still have the property given to them on that day. Maharaja Jaswant Singh left a diary that has been handed down to us. You can read this yourself. The last sentence says, "Yours is only that which you accomplish with your own hands. Everything that you spend on pleasure and feasting is lost. Only what you have done for others is really your property. After your death, you cannot produce any more. Therefore, do immediately everything you intend to do." What a test indeed, Dreamweaver. I am well. Thank you for asking, Anaki. The story has several meanings. Firstly, it shows how easily people allow themselves to be led astray by power and possessions. Secondly, it reminds us not to put off our good intentions, but to carry them out immediately. Thirdly, it instructs us not to rely on others, and to do ourselves whatever it is we would like to accomplish. Do not look back. What was yesterday is gone. Work towards whatever you would like to achieve unwaveringly, and continue to practice. To those who have attained wisdom, it is clear that Maya, this material existence, is an erratic partner. One day bringing something pleasant, and the next day something unpleasant. Accept both with equanimity. In worldly life, external and internal disturbances will always continue to appear. Therefore, endeavor to maintain your inner harmony through the constant practice of self-discipline. It is recommended that you dedicate at least 1 to 2 hours of the day to spiritual practice and meditation. The place for meditation should be kept as free of Maya and Pravrtti, materialism, as possible, and only used for practicing yoga. On the other hand, you should not overdo the quote-unquote retreat from the world. Under no circumstances allow your duties to family or society to be neglected. And if someone needs help, it is our duty to help. Move within Maya like a tightrope walker performing their art in front of a crowd. They delight the people with their performance, but does not allow their cheering, applause, or laughter to distract them even for a second. They give their undivided attention and concentration to their steps upon the rope. Sri Kabir Das, who was a lyricist, poet, philosopher, and saint, said in one of his poems, "Maya is an artful deceiver. Treat her with great care, because you never know in which form and in which way she seeks to tempt you. Therefore, go attentively and cautiously through the world, just as you would if you were walking through a coal mine in pure white clothes. Avoid any inadvertent contact, otherwise you could all too easily end up with black stains on your clothing. As human beings, we have numerous powers and abilities within us. Most people, however, are not conscious of them and are therefore unable to use them advantageously. They behave like one who has carelessly thrown away a valuable diamond, thinking that it was a worthless piece of glass. Always become conscious that this human life is priceless. We can buy almost everything with money, but not life. Not even for $1 billion are we able to delay death for a fraction of a second within the time our earthly life has run out. Therefore, make use of every minute of your existence and decide upon the spiritual path. So, my dear ones, thank you for listening to another section of the hidden power in humans. What a wonderful passage and story about Pravrtti and Nivrtti, the two ways of life. I hope that was insightful to you, as it was for me. And now we may open up our Sangha to discuss whatever might be inspired by this discussion, or anything else in your heart and mind. And thank you for those who sent a gift whilst I read. Like Cece, for your rose, thank you. Hare Krishna. Oh, I'm happy you enjoyed the reading. The guy from TikTok. And I like your additions. Very important. J-Dog to Infinity, you were wondering if this is a book I would recommend reading as a beginner, or is there something worth reading first? This is a great book for a beginner, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, it's dense with terminology, but you might as well dive into something like that. There are texts that I would say require some qualification, like if you wanted to read the Upanishads. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Drive yourself crazy trying to understand those, but a book like this was written for beginners like myself. Thank you, dear Amanda, for the community fest earlier too. Hari Om Tat Sat. Trisha, you share that you do not understand why he had so many riches on his person and not give to the poor instead. That's a good question, and I appreciate you challenging the premise. Well, it's not just a story. As we said at the end, this was a real happenstance, and this is the reality of the world. However, after he pulled that stunt with his ministers, it sounded like he did end up giving the jewelry to the poor, and first-hand too. So I'm happy to hear that part of the story also. In some sense, it is the duty of a ruler, although times have changed and there aren't rulers like this anymore, to generate wealth and then distribute it. So there is a period of the generation of wealth, and then there's the period of giving it. Just like, for example, parents, that they save up a lot of money, and then when their children are ready, here is my inheritance. And of course, along the way, any kind of needs that need to be taken care of by the parent are taken care of. But they can't give all their paychecks directly to their children, because they still have to invest that in their savings and wait until a time which is appropriate. I think the same kind of principle might be applied to a ruler in some sense, but I very much like all of your humanitarianism. It is important to distribute wealth, and in today's society we do see such a difference between those with the most money and those with the least. The concentration difference is huge. And the guy from TikTok, you share that you prefer to give to those in need who you meet today. And I love that. And as we are not kings ourselves, of course, our dharma is very different. We should go and help immediately. Absolutely. Now, thank you, Amanda. Again, and Alexandra, thank you for the rose you sent earlier. Hare Krishna. And J-Dog to Infinity, thank you for your tiny. And your sunglasses and finger heart. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Hanaki, for your heart me too. Radhe Radhe. And Sebi, thank you for your heart me. Jai Sita Ram. What a beautiful reminder, Auntie. Yes, we should help all. Well, we all need to be reminded that at one point in our lives we needed help. It is true. And what a painful truth it is, Trisha, as well. The more money people have, the more things they seek to own. It is an addiction of sort, because we think that we've already acquired this much. How much further we have to go until finally we are satisfied. But we can only truly be satisfied by that which is immaterial, not something that can be given to you by this world, but something that is a part of your very soul, the very existence, consciousness, bliss that we have forgotten. Thus we require spiritual means to attain this. Or more accurately, perhaps, remember that we have attained this. And such beautiful words, the guy from TikTok. We are most rich when we are free from the control of material senses. And Trisha, you share that we can learn from the Incas. They buried their earthly treasures to travel to the next world. A reminder that we cannot take them with us. I am rich in turnip socks for my microphone. Is that what they are? Some kind of root vegetable. Where's John? You calling me Yoko? Like Yoko Oni? You're funny, Jack. Well, I have bad news. If you don't know where John Lennon has been. Very bad news. Maybe you like the sunflower hat. Orski. Thank you, Evelyn, for your heart, me. Radhe. 9 calamities. You share that you are in need of something and you don't have it. You are accepting it, but it's hard. Although I am not certain, without you sharing what it is you're in need of, I hope I can affirm to you that everything you need to be happy you already have. I know this, not because I'm clairvoyant, but because we all do. People in the most inhospitable circumstances have a chance to find their happiness. And we do too. Both joy and misery is created from within. So that faculty to produce a blissful life can never be separated from us. But we can give that power to others and objects. And it is a difficult path of reclaiming that power. Callum, you wish you were a hedgehog. I understand. Namaste, Jai. Wolfblood, you share that we keep in our hearts the true keys to happiness, always locked in and always accessible. Thank you for your reminder. Jazz, you share you need less stress and sadness. Oh, I'm sorry you are going through this, Jazz. Sadness is a part of life, I am afraid. You are allowed to be sad. And we can even embrace our sadness and roll with the punches, so to speak. Of course, I do not wish sadness on anyone, but I wish you to find freedom in the expression of sadness, as you are allowed to feel this way. It doesn't mean that you are wrong in any way for having these feelings. Stress, however, we do have some control over. When we are stressed, we are managing our expectations, and we can free ourselves of judgment for not meeting our own expectations. Why do you have the right to do this? Well, because at any given moment we can only act based on our capacity to do so, based on our experience, our resources. If you had expectations that didn't take into consideration your abilities in this moment, then the least you could do is forgive yourself for not being where you want to be. Alleviating stress in this way can be very helpful. So I hope you know that your best is enough. That if you have put your effort in, but still you are not able to meet some outcome, that doesn't necessarily say anything about you, or how you should or shouldn't be. Remember that, dear Jazz. Thank you, Olski, for the let 'em cook too a moment ago. Hariom Tatsat. And thank you, VK Francis, for your rose as well. Radhe Radhe. You went to the beach today to relax. Oh, I hope that was a lovely time for you. Annika, you're wondering how much degrees is it in Canada? Depends where you are, I suppose, but where I am, it is probably maybe 25 where I'm sitting. I'm going to guess 25, 26 even. It's quite warm where I am sitting right now, and that's in Celsius. It's 28 for Ian. Oh, that's right around my limit. I think anything higher than that, I'd really have to go in the shade so I don't become a melted pool of yam. It's 32 in Calgary, 35 for Natalia. Oh my goodness. And thank you, dear Tia, for your finger heart. Om Namah Shivaya. The guy from TikTok, you're wondering if I have any thoughts about intermittent fasting. Oh, that's a great thing to do. Even doctors today say that it helps promote cellular regeneration, which is really interesting. That your body slows its aging process through intermittent fasting. Also, any time in which we have periodic accelerated heartbeat, but voluntarily, not because you're stressed or anxious, that can have a similar effect. This has been recommended in ancient times too, for spiritual reasons. It helps let the mind understand its position in relation to the intellect. What I mean by that is we have 4 antakarans, inner faculties of cognition, and they have a hierarchy to them. We have chitta, consciousness, ahankara, ego, buddhi, intellect, and manas, mind. And unfortunately, the hierarchy is flipped from its usual position. The mind tries to control the intellect, which tries to control the ego, which tries to control the consciousness. Through things like fasting, we right side this hierarchy up again. We flip it up so that the consciousness is what is at the top, directing the ego, directing the intellect, directing the mind. So the mind says, I want food, oh my goodness, give me this. But the intellect says, hey, Let's practice not giving in to these thoughts right now. Please take instruction from me, O mind. You are a beautiful servant, but a terrible master. And in this way, we remedy the inversion of the hierarchy that has happened through material life. And thank you, Ricky Bobby. It's a fun name to say. Ricky Bobby. For your heart me, finger heart, and a quartet of roses. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sam, you're wondering, why does my microphone has a sock on it? 2 reasons. One, it acts as a catcher for all the plosive sounds. Microphones are really sensitive to sharp changes in pressure, such as in the P sounds, pa 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 pa. So in order to protect the microphone, but also to not, blow your eardrums out if you're wearing headphones. Musicians often put something soft, like a piece of fabric, over the microphone. I learned this trick from my father. He was a musician. But secondly, this is no ordinary sock. This is a Yamsox, as a pun on my username, Yamsox. And this is something that you can get in the link tree in my bio. So it's also product placement. I hope you forgive me. Dogs are sensitive to B sounds too. That's interesting. That makes sense, since their ears are so sensitive. But I've never heard that before. Thank you. And hello, dear Jen. I am feeling better today. Thank you for keeping me in mind. And Auntie, you are getting ready to fast for the next 3 days. That's very exciting for you. And also maybe a little scary, unless you're used to it. Oh, I hope your fasting goes well. We also save money on food on fasting days. That's very true, Ian. It helps physically, spiritually, and economically. You are right. The guy from TikTok. It's a win-win-win. Thank you, Maya. It is hard to fast. I agree, Catherine. It's said that the tongue is the hardest organ to control. Both in the things that we give it and the things that it gives. In the form of words, I mean. That so much of the spiritual path, of the austerities we take on it, have to do simply with controlling the tongue. If you control your tongue, you're most of the way there. Everything else becomes easy. David O'Neill, you ask, is it okay to love someone wholly? Oh, I love this question. Of course. You are free to give your whole heart in anything that you do. You may get hurt. That is just the price of love. And it's not necessarily a sign that you shouldn't have given your all, but it's a reminder that in love we become vulnerable, that we take down our walls. But that's not to say we can't also be mindful of our own boundaries and needs and wants. Just as we love them with all our heart, we can love this body and mind too. Evelyn, you share, you always fast for 18 hours because you're just not hungry in the morning. Me too, my friend. I think our bodies work in similar ways. Yeah, my first meal is normally around 6 p.m. or even later, Currently it's 4:47 p.m. and the only thing I've had today are some sips of water and some vitamins. Vitamins that don't require food in the stomach. Fortunately, my other vitamins I'll take with my first meal. Now, Estefania, you share you're taking an Arjuna challenge, and you were asked which of your senses you can control the least, but could not tell which it was for smoking. That sounds like the sense of touch. Does smoking give you a pleasant sound? Does smoking give you a pleasant sight? Does smoking give you a pleasant taste? Pleasant smell? Or does it give you a pleasant feeling? Sounds like it would be the sense of feeling then, and not just our external feeling on the skin, but how we feel throughout our whole body. Yeah. Don't feel ashamed for it though, or embarrassed. That's okay. We're all at where we're at, and yeah. One way in which we can practice austerities for our sense of feeling is to take really cold showers. Anytime there's a temperature change, just be conscious of how resilient you can be. Take it as a little fun challenge for the day. It's like, I'm not going to put on an extra shirt today, even when it's cold. I'm going to allow myself to be a little cold today, or maybe a little hot, within reason. Don't give yourself a cold or a fever. Ice baths are really good, saunas too, for practicing austerity of feeling. Also, if you're really committed, you can buy a more firm mattress. You can buy even one of those Japanese beds that are practically just a piece of wood. Or you can take the sheets of memory foam off your bed. Now, I'm not recommending this unless you are interested in such an austerity, but that's something that people are inspired to do so. Now, thank you, Jen, for your hand hearts. There's one for you too. And Jen, thank you for your pair of tiny tinies and your half a dozen ice cream cones. Hare Krishna. And thank you, CDG, for your rose. I am sorry that I missed your comment. I did not intend on missing your comment. And the guy from TikTok, you're wondering if I had any thoughts to help those struggling with chronic pain. In chronic pain, spirituality is really helpful because it brings us in touch with our Atma, that to whom the pain is experiencing. And through practice of yoga, the kinds of yogas that are accessible to you given your bodily needs, we can create a space between our experiencer and the experiencing, between the witness of the pain and the pain itself. And the more space we can cultivate, the pain doesn't necessarily go away, but it does get easier to manage. As someone who is fortunate to not have chronic pain, this is just more theoretical knowledge than practical, but I would love to learn from others who go through that, so that I could understand it more directly. And thank you, Lone Wolf, for your 6 tiny tinies too. Yippee! Trisha, you shared that you have chronic pain and have been meditating, and it truly works. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And you were wondering, can I talk about the inner guru? You were not sure about the term, by the way. Oh, it makes sense to me. I think it sounds self-explanatory. The inner guru. Well, we all have a kind of guiding light within us. And speaking of pain, pain can be one of those guiding lights. Since we are all guided towards pleasure and away from pain, that tells us something about what we're searching for. And from our experiences of pleasure and pain, we can conclude various spiritual truths, like how what we are ultimately searching for is a kind of freedom from suffering, an eternal, everlasting blissfulness, you know? It's not even neutrality we're after. Our consciousness seemingly has very high standards. We're in search for infinite joy. It's okay, we can be honest with ourselves about this. We are all in search for infinite joy because no finite joy ever truly satisfies us, which is interesting. But that's not to say we're ungrateful and that we should look for something more realistic, because it is possible. Many great beings from the past thousands of years have found this eternal joy. It actually tells us about our essential nature, that what we are is infinite, and therefore our nature can only be complemented by some infinite expression. These are all teachings that can come almost from within, from contemplating on our own experience of life, on reflecting on it. And then once we found this direction, we've decided, yeah, I'm in search for something that this world cannot give me. That's where an outer teacher comes and gives you the path. And it's very beautiful that our inner guru teaches us from the experiences of the outer world, but the outer teacher teaches us from the experiences of our inner world. There's a beautiful poetry that way. Thank you, dear Lexi, for your heart me and team bracelet. Hare Om Tat Sat. And Kiki, thank you for your rose. Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Kiki. Thank you for sharing your blessings. Lyric Alilak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name. Lyric Alilak. I don't know. Lyrical Lilac. There, I figured it out. Callum, you are wondering, do I have a favorite singer? You know, one of my favorite moments is when someone in my house thinks that they're alone, and because of that they have the confidence to hum or sing their favorite tune and give it their all. And I love catching them on that, like when my mother is singing her favorite tune and I'm in a nearby room, I hear that. Or when my father sings. Oh, he's a wonderful musician, been a musician practically his whole life. Yeah, I love hearing people close to me sing. Now, hello, Renvox. Thank you, Rhiannon. Speaking of music, thank you for your quintet of tiny tinies. Eman, you were wondering, how do I use the knowledge that I have in a day-to-day life? That's a great question. What use is theoretical knowledge if we cannot apply it to where life takes place? In Vedanta, in yoga too, there are 3 levels of understanding. The first is merely Shravana, which is just listening. You've heard some piece of knowledge, but what good is hearing it if you don't think about it? So the second level is Manana. Are we thinking about what we've heard? But what good is thinking about it if we don't apply it? And so the third and highest level of knowledge is Nididhyasana, is practical knowledge. I admit that I used to be almost addicted to theoretical knowledge. Is that I'd learn all sorts of esoteric things about higher dimensions and spirituality. But when it came down to my daily life, there was a lot of suffering that was not alleviated by my knowledge of 4 dimensions and whatever. So, simpler truths have had a more profound impact on my life. Like, I wake up knowing that I should set the intention for the day. So before my feet touch the ground, I do a little prayer for the world, for myself. I am reminded that this body is an investment from Mother Earth, and so I have to give it back to her, hopefully with a positive ROI, return on investment. And whenever I am feeling anxious, I try to bring to my mind various skills I've learned from others, how to process my emotions, like talking them out, as simple as it is. We forget these things during intense emotions, like distracting yourself, like mantra. Singing, chanting can do wonders for the mental health. So much of the spiritual journey takes place within one's mind. So much is it important, therefore, to understand the workings of our mind. Your music name is also Rhiannon, shares Dreamweaver. Oh my goodness, I really am collecting Rhiannons then. Tattvam Asi, thank you for your quintet of roses. Jai Nisargadatta Maharaja. Scams for all, you are wondering, what do I think about the United States of America apparently becoming a theocracy? Well, given that America is my neighbor, I'm really close to America, living in Canada. In fact, the second closest major city to the one I live in is Seattle, the third being Vancouver. I feel for my fellow Americans, as I know there is a lot of suffering currently taking place there. The suffering taking place all over the world, and it's not comparable, it's just different. There's a lot of divisiveness in politics in our northern hemisphere. It is ironic, in many ways, that the purpose of religion, the original purpose, was to spread love and joy and inspiring stories of great saints and people, and bring the communities of the world together in harmony. But it seems as though that today what is being done in the name of religion isn't very religious at all. It's motivated by greed and power, and I think it's time that we break up with religion in some ways, because the institutions surrounding them are no longer good role models for virtuous ways of being. I do believe that it is important to have a kind of space that exists between the religious freedom and political freedom. Any time that belief systems are enforced that require a sacrifice of someone's well-being, then this is not a way to live. We can still look up to spiritual truths that are locked away in some traditions, but we have to be held accountable if we ever use those for the infliction of suffering upon another. Let us strive to be free of these prejudices and unite each other in the very way that the religions of the world were meant to, but have not been successful at. I always say my fundamental religion is humanity. The one which we all belong to. See, you can go without prayer and still exist. You can go without church and still exist. But can you go without breathing? Breath is my holy scripture. It is my prayer. You can live without believing in one form of God or another, but can you live without that divine consciousness which illuminates your mind and personality? Consciousness is our shared divinity, breath our uniting prayer, and humanity our inclusive religion. Now, it sounds very beautiful, but I must confess that I first heard these poetic words from a great guru named Yogi Raj Satgurunath Siddhanath. I am merely conveying what resonated with me from him. I am not a poet, but he certainly is. Oh, and I love that too, Kiki. The religion of love. Every heart is a temple. That's beautiful. And hello, dear Priscilla. Trisha, you share that Buddhism and native beliefs are kind and gentle. I really love that. Is that one of the unique qualities of some Eastern or Indigenous traditions is that they don't lend themselves very well to being extremified. Like, have you ever heard of a radical Buddhist? You know, what would that even be? He would just stop eating and fast until he died or something. When the fundamental tenets are all about peace and love, being radical in peace and love is probably a good thing. But then again, these are the fundamental tenets of all the world's religions. Any tradition can be misused, and we should keep this in mind. But much love to all the wonderful, compassionate Buddhists and First Nations of the world that represent such genuine spirituality, among so many others from other traditions too. Good night, dear Hanukkah. You're going to bed at 2 in the morning today. That's way better than going to bed at 5 in the morning or 7 in the morning. I'm happy that your bedtime is getting pushed back. But nice to see you. Thank you, Kiki, for the rose you sent a minute ago. Radhe Radhe. And Rishi, thank you for your 10 finger hearts. Here's some finger hearts for you as well, my friend, always. Om Sum Saryaya Namaha. Nina Ballerina, you're wondering, is this a real foot? This is my microphone. Coochie coochie coo. Hello, B Castle. I am doing well. How are you doing? Thank you for asking. Thank you, Andrea, for the rose you sent a moment ago too. Hari Om Tat Sat. And thank you for sharing the love of your spiritual master. Jesus loves you. I love Jesus too. And thank you, Rhiannon, for your half a dozen ice cream cones. I think they would all all melt very quickly, but I'll try to eat them as soon as I can. Evelyn, thank you for your community fest. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. And the guy from TikTok, you're wondering, are cats portals to higher vibrational frequencies? Of course. I don't think anyone ever felt bad in the presence of a vibrating cat. It's very difficult. I don't know if you've ever tried. If you sincerely try to be upset when you just have this 4-ball going like oh, and they're doing this squishy eyes, showing their love, rubbing against you. It's like, okay, maybe life isn't so bad after all. And that's right, Jean-Marie, it is a sock. No ordinary sock, but a yam sock. And thank you, Elle, for your heart me and your 10 roses. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. It was my grandfather's sock, a family heirloom, passed down for generations. Some say the sock existed before the first words were spoken. Others say it's available in the link tree in my bio. But who can know for certain? Only the ancients know. Thank you, Andrea, for your rose. Candy Cake, you ask, what does spirituality say about handling breakups? Well, I don't know if spirituality has a voice of its own, but it is meant to give you a voice. And one way in which we can use positive reframing in a spiritual mindset is to recognize that in a breakup, you have been given an opportunity to discover your own independence. This is a lesson that you will learn from, and your heart will heal. The pain never goes anywhere. I do want to be clear about that, is that all the pain we've experienced, it's still part of our experience. But we learn to handle it with ease, as you put the word, to handle. We are not defined by the love we get, but the love we give. And all the love you have to give is still with you. It cannot be taken from your experience. And all the love that you had experienced from them, I'm afraid there's no refunds on that either. Anything that was given sincerely in the moment is a part of your being. Sometimes they are messy. Who am I kidding? Most of the time, they are messy. But that doesn't mean that this experience isn't something that will lead to a lot of peace within you down the road. This doesn't mean that you're doomed, that you're never going to find love. You are empowered to continue being a bright source of light for the darkness of this world. The guy from TikTok, you add that. It's the same with trauma. It doesn't go anywhere, but we learn to live with it. Yes, I love that. Kiki, you are wondering, do I think I can read the Bible one day? When it comes to the readings that I do here, you might have noticed that I used to read the Vachanamrut, for example, which is the spiritual scripture of the Bhagwan Swaminarayan tradition. But the things I've learned about spiritual scripture is that it is a private experience, and I do not wish to misinterpret it when I do not understand the best way to convey that to others, when I'm still learning it myself. So, whether it be the Bible, or the Torah, or the Quran, or the Vachanamrut, or the Vedas, I think if we do read it, it should be done in our own time, or it should be done by a realized master who has seen the truth in these words and is in touch with the divinity that they lead you. Since I cannot claim to know the truth in that capacity, then I leave it for someone that is more qualified to read to you. I hope that makes sense to you. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your disco love. Ariom Tatsat. And Stephen, thank you for your rose and community fest. Ariom Tatsat. Dea Song, you were wondering what happened with my mathematical journey. Well, I still love mathematics, and I always will. But if you're interested in learning more about my personal experiences, you're welcome to check out the frequently asked questions page in the link tree in my bio. There is a bunch of questions relating to how my internet presence has changed and how my personal life has changed also. So if that speaks to you, I hope it does, and if you have any follow-up questions, I would love to answer them. And it is very true, Gregardji. Welcome, by the way. The words Dea Song is pretty much synonymous to the words Bhagavad Gita. Sensei, you ask, can infinity exist in the physical world? Nah. Yes, but not in the way you might think. Mathematically, speaking of mathematics, there's something called the complement of a set. And it is a fact in set theory that either in an infinite domain of discourse, a set or its complement must be infinite. You can have finite sets. You can also have infinite sets. Complement means everything that's outside of that set. Like you inverse the Venn diagram. The world contains finite things. However, because it contains finite things, then that means there is infinite space. That the complementary space of all of this finitude is infinite. Why is this important on a spiritual level? Because your consciousness is not an object. It is not something that is finite. It too is infinite. Therefore, it can only find true expression to represent all that infinitude when there is infinite room for you to express yourself. Likewise, in this world, there is infinite room to express yourself because it is finite. So infinity can exist in the world, complementary to it. What does this practically mean beyond this philosophical injunction? Do you notice all of the problems in the world? Do you notice all of the suffering, all of the absences? Of course. Just as Misty Cloud observes, there is a lot of absence in this world. Therefore, all the more reason to express your presence, all the more reason to give the infinitude of yourself to these noble causes. And that is how we become expressed. Thank you, Amma, for the flowers you sent earlier. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sensei, you ask, can we say that change is infinite? You could say that there are infinite ways that can change, and that infinity is the duration of time for which change will occur. In other words, it is eternal. Remember that infinity is not an object itself, but a quality. So there are various qualities of change that we can attribute to infinity, indeed. And because change is a part of this world too, then you've outlined another part of this world which has an infinite aspect. And thank you, Kent and Lisa, for your Heart Me and Community Festo. Radhe, Radhe. Savannah, thank you for your Quartet of Roses also. Om Namah Shivaya. Sensei, you're wondering, what is the difference between eternal and infinity in mathematical jargon? In mathematical jargon, eternity is one kind of infinity. That's the infinity of time. But there can be various other kinds of infinities. And Sva, thank you for your finger heart and your heart me. See, you share, you like my accent. Where am I from? Well, if your question of where I'm from has to do with your first statement, I don't know if you'll necessarily get the answer to that, since I'm from Canada and many other Canadians don't sound like me. I think the question that would answer it is, am I neurodivergent? And the answer to that question is absolutely. Amma, you share, you always say you're from another planet. Oh, I'm very much from this earth, and I'm very grateful to have Earth as my mother and my fellow earthlings as my friends and family. In top round, you share, it's so funny that for you it's 3 a.m. and I am in the sun. Oh, isn't that interesting? I love how the whole world is covered in time zones, and someone is up to their morning, someone is up to their evening, afternoon, it's the middle of the night. Such a variety in time. Local time, of course. By time we mean the time of day. But we all exist in the same moment, don't we? Nali, that's how I pronounce your name. You're wondering if I could sing you a lullaby to distract you from your cat snoring. I would want a cat to snore me to sleep. That sounds like a divine lullaby, in my opinion. What a precious sound that is. Speaking of cats, I have a cat next to me. Some very sleepy looking cats too. Here, let me try to show you. Sandy's down there. And that shadow up close. Sandy looks very zen. I don't hear him snoring though. Could I sing you a lullaby? How about a mantra? Could do the Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhur Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Deva Syadhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. It's very ancient. Part of the Rig Veda, which is the oldest of the Vedas, and the Vedas are the oldest spiritual scriptures. Even at the time of the Buddha, 2,500 years ago, he spoke highly of that mantra. In fact, in his own words, translated to English, he said, "There is no other verse more beautiful than that of the Gayatri." It's often notoriously difficult to translate, but I'll give you my best translation. Om is the primordial sound that's said to be responsible for the vibration of the whole cosmos. In John 1:1 says, God, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and God was the Word. Well, in ancient times, even before this, the word was Om. And some people believe this is where we get what we say at the end of a prayer. Omen. Before it was Om, it was pronounced Om in Vedic times. I think you can hear how it would become Omen, the divine vibration. Anyway, that's how we start this mantra. Most mantras begin with this sound called the pranav, the primordial sound. It represents creation, preservation, and destruction. Bhur, bhuva svaha, it's a sequence. It almost sounds like one. If you listen closely to Sanskrit, it reveals its meaning before you are even told it. Bhur, bhuva svaha. We start with Bhur, then we have Bhuva, what is above Bhur, and then that which is even higher, Svaha. It refers to earth, Bhu, what's above the earth, the interspace, Bhuva, and that which is in space, Svaha, the celestial plane. Spiritually, it refers to coming from the material world to our mind, to our consciousness. Om Bhur Bhuva Svaha, going higher and higher. Tat Savitur Varenyam. Tat means that. Now we're isolating the essence. Savitur, that means the sun, or the sun-like radiance. Varenyam, which is worthy of worship. So we've brought our attention from the world to the interspace to the sun. That sun-like divinity is worthy of worship. Spiritually, we bring our mind from the world to the mental space to the inner light of consciousness. That inner illuminator is worthy of worship, worthy of revering. Bhargo devasya dhimahi. Bhargo, that which removes ignorance, dissolves darkness. Devasya, that feminine radiance we meditate upon. Dhimahi. Diyo yonaf prachodayat. Intellect of ours, may you enlighten or propel. And in what direction do you propel our intellect, our ability to discern? Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha. Back before they made TikTok loops, where the beginning and the end lined up, mantras that lined back up in themselves as you repeated were the original loops. So the sentence continues back into the start. Altogether, this mantra is chanted for many people as their initiation into spirituality. And it's used as a form of repentance. If you feel like you have something that you regret, it's also a form of gathering humility and just redirecting your awareness inward to that inner light. The sun has always represented the source of existence. There are many qualities of the source that we find directly expressed in the sun, because the sun is that which illuminates all the worlds. It is the source of energy and of life. So too, if we turn our attention inward, there is a sun-like divinity on the other side of this consciousness, not in the world, but as a witness. And from that witnessing, our whole world is illumined. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yonah Prachodayat. Now, I don't know if I put you to sleep or I woke you up with that explanation. It's supposed to be a lullaby. Quel dommage. Thank you, Brandon, for the heart me you sent a minute ago. Hariom Tat Sat. And Miranda, thank you for your rose and your heart me. Radhi Radhi. Hello, Mia. It definitely relaxed you. Oh, good. Oh, good. I would like to read to you all. I think it would be a nice interim, and maybe this is a good substitute for a lullaby as well. Let's read. I would like to read to you all. I think it would be a nice interim, and maybe this is a good substitute for a lullaby as well. I would like to read to you all. I think it would be a nice interim, and maybe this is a good substitute for a lullaby as well. Let's read. This one's funny. I like this one. We're going to be reading from Rumi, who is a Sufi poet. Sufism is a mystical branch of Islam. Every religion in the world has a mystical branch, and often unheard of. Many people haven't heard of Sufism. There's also Gnosticism, which is a mystical branch of Christianity, and there's Tantra, the mystical branch of Buddhism and Hinduism. So this was a mystical poet who spoke very interesting words about 800 years ago about the nature of the spirit and its relation to the source. He was very devotional towards the source. Alright, this poem is practical. It is called The Companionship of Fools. Flee from the foolish. Even Jesus fled from them. Much blood has been shed by companionship with fools. Air absorbs water little by little. Even so, the fool drains you of spirit. They steal the heat and leave you cold, like the one who puts a stone beneath you. The flight of Jesus wasn't caused by fear, for he is safe from the mischief of fools. His purpose was to teach by example. This is just a short, goofy one. The Companionship of Fools. Thank you for listening. Or in place of fools, you can think goofballs, dinguses. This is the importance of surrounding yourself with positive people to make good impressions. Oh, I forgot to mention that one. And of Judaism, the mystical branch is the Kabbalah. Thank you for the reminder. It's time for some room for Rumi. Indeed. I'm glad you all like Rumi so much. Oh, what a gem. I have a strange feeling like he had a profound sense of humor. I would like to have been friends with him. But it is a good reminder. We are not able to be understood by everyone. And that is a perfect segue into my question of the day, which Rumi had answered, and now I'd love to hear from you all. When someone doesn't understand what you're saying, what can you do instead? As Rumi said, flee from them is one way. Walk away. Teresa, you share that you cry. That's genuine. It's a genuine expression of being misunderstood. It's valid. Skulas, you share, you listen. I love that. Sometimes misunderstanding can be projected. So alleviating that mutual misunderstanding by listening. You cry too, Brandon. And Kiki, you give them suggestion of reading Bible. And it is a healthy reminder, Siram Kasun. Remember that Jesus was misunderstood. So we can't expect ourselves to be. Priscilla, you stay in silence. Vega, you share that you ask. Katarina, you explain it differently, Unless you're like, well, it's not for you. There are always other words we can use to deliver the same meaning, just in different ways. Sometimes the meaning is what is being rejected, and at that point, there is no combination of words that can convey our truth. Nor you share by asking for their perspective. I love that. And Gaia, you share by walking away. Skolas. You add, you could also understand why you're not understood by listening. That's a beautiful addition. Very practical too. Chris, you share, you can try harder to explain yourself. Matthew, you share, you can ask them what part they didn't understand, then re-explain it in a way that they can. I like that. And Gaia, you share, silence for the ill excuse you suppose. Well, silence can be a very effective way of expressing sincerity at times. Daisy, you share agreeing to disagree. It's funny how long that path goes. It can really take you far. That you don't have to agree. You can even accept and understand that this disagreement is not necessarily something that can be resolved at the moment. And Josan, you share, if you're very patient, they just get tired. That is true. Brandon, you share, you're not physically violent. I hope not. I believe you. But I guess it should be said that not engaging in harm when someone is not understanding you. Thank you, Emily, for your heart me too. Om Kring Kalikaye Namaha. And Katarina, you shared that you took a cat nap listening to me read. You didn't mean to, but it was peaceful. Oh. Well, if you need rest, that's always understandable. Thank you, Gaia. Hello, dear Anthony. Siram, you share that in actuality at times you get defensive, say things you don't mean, repent later. Actually, that act of repentance can be very helpful as we look back at our mistakes and reconsider how the conversation could have done, and then make the difference next time. Priscilla, you share a very profound sentence that silence in hard communication is education. That's beautiful. Donsuela, you share that acknowledging not everyone may understand, meeting them where they're at and moving on. Very beautiful. Aw, you freaked out earlier with your hormones and took a step outside first to do so. It's a good awareness of yourself. I am sorry to hear that, Brandon. Crying is a very effective way of healing. Genuinely expressing all of the feelings that we have been holding on to can be very healing. Thank you, dear Kiki, for your friendship necklace. Hare Krishna. Kiki, you share, we can make a deal. You read Rumi to understand me, and I read Bible. Oh, I like your deal. But it wouldn't be fair to you because the Bible means so much more to you than this book does to me. I picked up this book to read to you all, and this is the first time I'm reading it, but I suspect that you've read the Holy Scriptures many times more. For me, my goal in this spiritual live stream is to bring an inclusive awareness to all paths of life, from Rumi's Sufism to Pema Chodron's Buddhism to Paramahans Swami Maheshwarananda's yoga, to your Christianity. I believe that there is a path for everyone, and it all leads to the same place. If you feel like there's potential in me to represent a pure form of Christianity that you feel drawn to, then it is my duty to become more versed in that as well. So I thank you for inviting me to understand your tradition a little better. And feline, you share to the question of the day. You repeat it until they get it. Sometimes that's all it takes. Alright. Thank you for exploring this question of the day with me. I'm very grateful to hear this answer. Ragnhildur, thank you for your trio of roses. Hare Krishna. You would like me to tell you my favorite then, Kiki? My favorite is whatever one I am reading at that time. If I am reading the Bible, it is my favorite. If I am reading Quran, it is my favorite. If I am reading Vedas, that is my favorite. Or if I am reading the scriptures of the Torah, or the sutras of Buddhism, or the Grand Guru Sahib of Sikhism, or the Tao Te Ching of Taoism, whatever my attention is on at the moment, that is my favorite. I only have love for where the scriptures lead us, and I hope that we can remedy our differences in which scriptures we come to. Ultimately, all the scriptures say the same thing. That happiness is not found by material gain or selfish pursuit, that we have to be kind to others and hold them in our heart and appreciate that we are part of a greater whole. If we understand that, then this is a universal truth, and we can live it day by day. And thank you, AB, for your tiny dine. Yippee! So I'd like to continue reading from The Hidden Power in Humans with you, all about Chakras and Kundalini. Thank you, Kiki, for your tiny tiny too. Yahoo! Let's continue where we left off. Last time we read about the story of a Maharaja and about the difference between Pravrtti and Nivrtti, the two ways of life. Namely, going without, Pravrtti, towards worldly objects, or going within, towards the spiritual subject. Ultimately, true satisfaction can only come by Nivritti, by going within. But this yearning for the spiritual path happens naturally, after many lifetimes, when the soul is ready. Today, we are reading, finally, about the nature of Kundalini, since we have laid the groundwork to understand this serpent power. In Sanskrit, the term Kundalini is based on several words and therefore has several meanings. The word ending E indicates that it relates to the feminine principle and deals with a form of Shakti, energy, and Prakriti, nature. Kunda means a hole or a well into which all debris and rubbish is thrown. In time, the rubbish loses its original form and disintegrates into a formless mush, in which the individual components are no longer recognizable. In a similar way, our impressions from earlier lives lie like an amorphous substance deep in the unconscious, which is the Muladhara chakra. And does anyone know which chakra that is? The lowest of all chakras, in which all of our, yes, that's right, the root chakra, in which all of our subconscious impressions lay. That is the kunda, the hole or well of all of our experiences. But kundala means a ring, or generally an earring. A ring or a circle has neither a beginning nor an end. It is infinite, and that is why it is a symbol of creation. Cosmic energy is circling constantly. We do not know when the universe began and how long it will last. The other roots of Kundalini are Kundalin, which means serpent, Kala, which means time or death. So what is the connection between all these terms? Well, the symbol of the snake has many meanings: ignorance, energy, unhappiness or happiness, death, time, change. Speaking of the Bible, we've all heard the story of the serpent in the Garden of Eden, or the two serpents around the staff of Hermes, or how Moses threw down his staff, turned into a serpent. There's lots of serpents in the Christian tradition and in traditions all around the world. In Indian mythology, Lord Vishnu, the preserver, rests on a 1,000-headed snake and sends out the first vibration, the spurna, from which the entire universe evolves. And a symbol of love, a wedding ring, shares Trisha. I love that connection. The symbol of the snake also refers to the poison and danger that lies in ignorance. Like in the classic saying that in the darkness we confuse a rope for a snake. Oh, there's a cute little spider on my arm. Are you poisonous like a snake? Oh, you're a jumping spider. There, you can go make a web off the Yamsox. Ignorance is as poisonous and deadly as a cobra. But poison can also heal and have a life-saving influence. It's said that small amounts of cobra venom can act as a medicine. Knowledge about its correct application and dosage is the important thing. So just as the power to heal is contained in a poison, supreme knowledge lies dormant in the quote-unquote ignorance of the unconscious. Just as a snake bite can suddenly change our life, when the Kundalini awakens, our consciousness changes fundamentally and we reach another dimension of space and time. Is there a twig in my hair? You are right, Gaia. You have very good eyesight. I think it's a piece of grass even. At this point, I would like to correct one common misconception about the so-called rising of the Kundalini. The translation, serpent power, gives rise to a frequent misunderstanding. The concept that a feeling like a snake crawling along the spinal column comes with the awakening of the Kundalini is totally false. Rather, the awakening of the Kundalini means the awakening of the inner knowledge. The path of the Kundalini proceeds from the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, at the lower end of the spinal column, up to the Sahasrara chakra, the ground chakra, at the top of the head. But its awakening is not a physical occurrence. It consists exclusively of a development in consciousness. This becomes more noticeable as our perceptions of cosmic vibrations and radiant energy, tattvas, become more sensitive, and our understanding of the connections and laws within the universe deepens. We need to gain the experience in order to acquire the knowledge. Each experience, whether good or bad, increases our understanding. Clarity arises through knowledge. With the awakening of the Kundalini, our consciousness expands and we become aware of the truth. Its awakening brings with it pure joy, pure knowledge, and pure love. An enlightened one, a person whose Kundalini has awakened, radiates with such an all-embracing love, purity, power, and goodness that everybody feels drawn to such a person. Occasionally, in yoga literature, Kundalini is connected with Tantra. And in Tantra, the worship of Shakti, the Divine Mother, is the focal point. And occult powers, and is considered as something dangerous. Like every other form of energy, one must also learn to understand spiritual energy. From childhood onwards, we learn how to deal with internal and external energies. Whenever we run into something new and unknown, we always need some time, as well as practice and proper instruction, before we are able to deal with it. And so it is with the power of the Kundalini. In order to be able to integrate this spiritual energy, careful purification and strengthening of the body and nervous system are required beforehand. Sometimes an ambitious aspirant may force the rising of this energy through excessive and vigorous practices without being properly prepared for it. Instead of enlightenment, such an impatient person more often than not brings about considerable mental disturbances and at times even permanent damage to the psyche. However, do not blame the Kundalini, but blame stupidity or incorrect techniques. Whoever faithfully follows the path of a spiritual master, as they give it, will certainly not suffer such consequences. Sri Mahaprabhuji said, Kundalini is the Divine Mother. A true mother never causes harm or does anything bad to her children. Kundalini Yoga is a pure spiritual science that leads to enlightenment and God realization under the guidance of a spiritual master. Those who write about the supposed danger of this path either do not have a master or do not follow their instructions. So, if a person expresses negative views about Kundalini, ask that person about their relationship with their spiritual master. Often it will be found that the cause of the problem lies in the fact that they have acted without appropriate guidance or has ignored the advice of their master. Therefore, do not allow such voices to create uncertainty and confidently follow the advice of a guru. It is important to be patient and moderate, not to force and not to cling on to ideas such as how it will be or how it should be. When it happens, Perhaps you will not even know how and when it has taken place, because the spiritual power within you has unfolded so naturally and imperceptibly. And we will pause our reading of the hidden power in humans. What a great introduction into Kundalini. Next time we'll talk about the nadis, the energy channels upon which the prana, such as Kundalini, flow. And there's an amazing diagram of such nadis that extend in and outside the body and the energetic field of a human being. Namaste. And with that, we'll wrap up our reading and we will wrap up today's live stream. So I'm very grateful to have had this time with you all. Thank you, Alan, for another subscription. It's very kind of you to renew your subscription. Never is it necessary, but always am I deeply touched by the capacity for us to continue our journey on the spiritual plane together. Thank you, Hybrid Jen, for your heart me. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sorry, you sent a paper crane. Sometimes I mix up the gifts. Thank you for the paper crane, Hybrid Jen. It is important to remedy my error because I know that a paper crane costs more. But never is any donation expected either. Nonetheless, my gratitude remains, and it's very humbling to even get anything at all. Thank you, Gabriella, for your heart me too. And thank you, Christopher, your heart me as well. Om Dum Durgai Namaha. And Olski, thank you for your rose. Thank you for half a penny. That's right, actually. But half a penny gifted with love is worth more than $1 billion. This I accept wholeheartedly. Thank you. Hybrid Jen, you hear things here you've never heard of before. Oh, well, I'm glad there's something unique here for you. It is a wonderful group of beautiful humans. I agree, Trisha, and that includes yourself. Thank you for your time, Kiki. And hello, Patricia. Is there no mantra chant today, asks G2 Infinity. I am afraid I had not prepared one, but I tell you what, we can do some Om chanting on the spot before we go. Thank you, Premonitions, for your happy Friday. And thank you, Rhiannon, for your hand hearts. There's some for you too. Radhe or Radhe. Thank you, Kiki, for your W too. Om Namah Shakti Shivaya. Hybrid Jen, you shared that the day after that one colorful mantra of chakras, your hips hurt. That's funny. You're better now, but wondered if it was related. I don't think you have to worry about that. I think sometimes our hips just hurt. It's part of being human. Mantras are meant to make you feel better. If anything, they are here to heal your body. And all of the mantras that I do on this live stream, they don't require any qualifications. It is said that there can be harm from chanting some mantras without qualification or without the right pronunciation, but I do take good care to give you all the right pronunciation and qualification. Speaking of which, Trisha, you're wondering, who taught me proper enunciation? Well, the language itself did, which is really interesting. Sanskrit is arranged, I'm actually in the process of making a video about this, but Sanskrit is arranged very precisely that if you understand the structure, there's no debate about how it's pronounced, because it tells you exactly where to place your tongue and lips, and what qualities of sound, how much you're aspirating in the palate, how much you are pulmonizing your lips, how much you are nasalizing, how much you are voicing. The structure of Sanskrit is precise enough that it tells you exactly where and how to pronounce each sound, which is remarkable. I mean, it's a language that teaches itself in some sense. Yeah, I am in the process of making a video about that. It sounds complicated when I put it that way, but it's actually beautifully arranged in this diagram that's so symmetric. It's like everything just makes sense when you see it in this one way, when you see all of the sounds form this 3D shape, actually a 4D shape. It's a 4-dimensional prism with a cross-section of a cube. So there's no debate over the mathematical certainty of each sound. Anyway, today we are pronouncing just one word, so it should be very easy to pronounce. And that word is Om. Let me start recording so anyone can listen to this at another time. Let us chant the pranava, as it's called, the Omkara, the primordial sound, the word, the holy vibration, the sacred syllable, Om. There are 4 things to know about Om because there are 4 components to it. The first component is a vibration deep in your chest, as low as you can get, even in your abdomen. As deep as a vibration you can do. The sound starts with is a non-pulmonized, non-nasalized, voiced, non-aspirated vowel, which just means that you open your mouth and you say a sound. It's the most simple sound that a person can make. I can turn down my microphone if it's speaking or move it back. It represents the acknowledgement of existence. We say when we are feeling tired or relaxed or happy or sad. When we are pointing something out, When we are sighing, That's the first sound. No articulation of the tongue or jaw or lips. Just a deep resonance in your chest. This quickly transitions into the labial vowel. Ooh. And with it, we bring the main place of resonance to our throat. So it becomes Ow. You can hear the harmonics changing when you do that. Ow. That's half of Om. The last 2 quarters has to do with our nasal cavity. First of all, we close our lips fully and we bring the place of resonance to between our teeth and lips. You could even feel your teeth vibrating or your lips. as the air is now redirected through our nose. And finally, the fourth sound, which is very, very subtle. And most people don't even know about this, so it's just for you. Secret fact. That we bring our tongue up and we completely seal our mouth, so that the nasal cavity becomes the predominant place of resonance. That's like the same act of pronunciation when we make the ing sound, where our mouth can be open, but all of the air is redirected to the nasal cavity. So ah in the chest, ooh in the throat, at the teeth and lips, and at the nasal. And you should be able to hear the harmonics getting higher, the overtones ascending while you do this, even though the root note remains unchanged. Om is perhaps the oldest mantra because it's said to be the oldest sound in which all sounds have come. Chanting Om has been scientifically shown to create deep wells of peace within a person. And by well, I mean a reservoir that you can even return to after you're done chanting, that it remains with you. It's like creating a sacred space within you. And not just a temporary one that remains even after chanting. It is said that the whole of creation takes place, and the whole of the maintenance and preservation of the universe take place on the ooh. The whole of the destruction and dissolution of the universe take place on the and finally at the we are left with the ultimate truth, the spacious silence from which this whole cycle can begin again. Okay, we're going to be doing 10 Omkars, and that's how we'll end today's live. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. And with that, we'll wrap up today's live stream. Thank you for joining. And thank you, Giuliano, for the ice cream cone, Rose, Cloud Bread, Gigi, and TikTok that you sent just a few minutes ago. Hare Krishna. Rianan, thank you for the bubble tea and heart meat earlier. Heart meat? Oh my goodness. No, I don't want your heart meat. But your heart me. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, Mr. Rocket Shot, for your heart me and friendship necklace also. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'm happy you enjoyed that premonitions. Thank you for inspiring me to do a chanting anyway, despite my lack of preparation. G to infinity. And Rianan, thank you for your 7 roses. 1 for each of the chakras. Well, actually, we're going to be introducing ourselves to an 8th chakra in our book soon. One of the 7 most commonly known ones, I should say. Thank you, Rianan. Thank you, Jitter Cat, for your 10 community fests. Radhe, Radhe. And Hybrid Jen, thank you for your pair of balloons. Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. Spirit never planned. It's to release. Everything in spirit is spontaneous. Thank you for being here, everyone. You always write such kind messages at the end, Donsuela. I love them very dearly. Thank you, Magdalene, for the sweetest of dream wishes for us all. Skip, you share, you think life is becoming better, but you're hungry all the time now. Desires, they are unending, but indeed, as we embark on the spiritual path, we become more in tune with our body's wants and needs. The mind almost becomes louder as well, but it's okay, because that's paralleled with lots of peace in big and small moments. Oh, it's okay, Feline, you never have to apologize for that. Hello and goodbye, Rosie. Hare Krishna, Anna. Good night, dear Priscilla. I love you too. And that's okay. You are here. Perfect time sobriety, Sam. No rush, no time pressure. Anyway, I will upload the recording of this live stream to the Yamsox Lives YouTube channel. And with it, there is dedicated playlists to the chanting and to the readings in case you ever want to catch up or participate from the future. It's true. Whether we realize it or not, all of us are joined here with many other guests from the future. So thank you to my guests from the future. And I I also have another YouTube channel. That's the ASMR Yamsox YouTube channel, or Yamsox ASMR. There I've been reading through the Bhagavad Gita, one chapter at a time with a whispered voice and rain sounds in the background. Pardon my hiccups. I recently recorded the 9th chapter, so if you want to listen to that, I will be uploading it as soon as I edit, render, and post it. Thank you, Tiny Smas, for your tiny toe. Yippee! And with that, I will be bidding you farewell. I hope I can show you my cats as they are next to me. Dear Shadow. Can you see him? He blends into the shadow, but he's taking a nap in the grass of this catio I built for them. Sandy's licking himself in his hammock. Sandy, psst, 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 psst. Can you say hi to the people of the internet? Or goodbye? No, he's grooming himself. I don't want to distract him from this important job of bathing himself. Anyway, you boys are loved from many people on the internet. Thank you, Skip, for your rose. Radhe, Radhe. Alright, may this live stream be an offering to Sri Radha Krishna. I bow to the divinity within you. And I mean you, my dear viewers. You are all an expression of the divine, and I am humbled to be in your presence. Radhe Krishna, Radhe Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Radhe Radhe, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Shyam Shyam, Radhe Radhe. May you all have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, night. May you all have a beautiful rest of your present moment, more generally. And thank you, Liz, for your heart me. Radhe Radhe and Namaste.